Chapter 177, Jang Nung-won. Yeo Su-rin's expression stiffened. For a moment she doubted her own ears. Becoming your woman? What on earth was he saying? Yeo Su-rin asked, thinking it couldn't be. Hey, you know what? I'm asking because I think I might have misunderstood. What you just said, could it be? Yes, if you become my woman, I might be able to trust you a little more, don't you think? Yeo Su-rin looked at Mok Jae-eun with dumbfounded eyes. She thought there might be another way to prove trust, but this was a completely unexpected suggestion. It wasn't just her who was dumbfounded by Mok Jae-eun's words. Huh? Human, are you out of your mind? Pardon? If she's that troublesome, you should just kill her. What's all this about? Is there a problem? A problem? Of course there is. Are you attracted to that wench? No. How could that be? Mok Jae-eun didn't feel any emotions towards Yeo Su-rin. Chong Ryong also knew that Mok Jae-eun had no particular feelings towards women, so the fact that he made such a suggestion was absurd. Huh? Then are you in heat? In heat? Yes, in heat. If not, why would you make such a suggestion? Do you think that's a way to build trust? You're just trying to satisfy your own sexual desires. I don't know what kind of emotion it is to want to satisfy it, but wouldn't it be good to develop a relationship, both feel good and have her affection focused on me? Chong Ryong was not only dumbfounded but also at a loss for words at Mok Jae-eun's confident words. She wanted to refute him, but he stated his reasons so confidently that she didn't know what to say. So you're saying you'll sleep with that human wench? If she wants to. If she wants to? Yes, is there a better way to confirm trust than that? Did he become overconfident after being intimate with Wai So-yeon? Or does he believe that he can manipulate a person's emotions just through a relationship? Whatever it is, it's truly remarkable. So she had to clearly tell him. You seem to have a serious misunderstanding, human. Misunderstanding? Yes. Although I've become a vengeful spirit as a woman, let me make it clear. You're taking women too lightly. Taking them lightly? Yes. You sound a bit agitated. Are you perhaps angry? No. Even though you said no, you seem to have put some force into it. I said no. Well, I don't mind if that's the case, but I don't take women lightly. I just think there's nothing wrong with having a relationship when it comes to making emotions more solid. Slap. At that moment, a slap flew at Mok Jae-eun's cheek. Of course, with this level of force, his head wouldn't turn at all. See that? Chong Ryong chuckled mockingly. She knew this would be the obvious result. Mok Jae-eun looked at Yeo Su-rin, who had slapped him, with a puzzled expression. Unlike before, she seemed to exude a cold aura. What are you doing? Listen, Master Mok. You talked about trust and all that, but do you think I'm some prostitute from the red light district? That's not it. Then how can you say such things? What's wrong with it? Huh? Why should I become your woman to build trust? Did you not know that you're quite lustful despite your looks? No, did you decide to have some fun because you have a decent face? Fun? Yes. Otherwise, how can you say such things so easily? Except for your face, you're not my type at all. And I have no desire to be intimate with someone whose neck will be broken and die at a young age. Is that so? At Mok Jae-eun's dry response, Yeo Su-rin clicked her tongue inwardly. This man seems really unusual. Judging by the way he looks at her, it doesn't seem like he fell for her or feels sexual desire to make such a suggestion. But then why did he make such an absurd suggestion? Did he see her as someone easy? I'm really disappointed. Disappointed? In what? You talked about trust and all that, but you're saying things that only horny pigs would say. Horny? What is a male-female relationship in the first place? What? I'm asking what a male-female relationship is. What do you mean what? When they feel attraction and have feelings of love for each other. Isn't it the case that humans are divided into male and female not only for physical structural differences but also for the purpose of reproduction of the species? For a moment, Yeo Su-rin was at a loss for words. He asked what a male-female relationship was, but wasn't he being too fundamental? Yeo Su-rin spoke with a flushed face, feeling annoyed. No, then what's the difference between humans and beasts? In the first place, when it comes to male-female relationships or reproduction of the species, there's no difference between humans and beasts. Ugh, what kind of nonsense? It's not nonsense. What? Even beasts don't just reproduce for the sake of it. Females try to find a male with stronger seed, And males also try to find a more suitable female for reproduction. At Mok Jae-un's words, Yeo Su-rin clicked her tongue. This man's way of thinking seemed extremely one-dimensional, considering how he simplistically dismissed male-female relationships. Hey, do you even know what the feeling of love is? Isn't it when two people find each other attractive, whether it's appearance or anything else? That's. When she tried to answer, it wasn't wrong. So Yeo Su-rin pondered what to say and spoke. Fine. Then let's go by what you said. Do you find me attractive? As the opposite sex? Yes. In response to her question, Mok Jae-un answered without any hesitation. Excluding everything else and considering you solely as the opposite sex, there's no reason not to find you attractive. Yeo Su-rin had a cute and beautiful appearance with short hair. With her ample breasts, slim waist and protruding hips, her figure was also excellent. Although Chong Ryong and Wai So-yeon were exceptionally beautiful, Yeo Su-rin was also undoubtedly a beauty. At Mok Jae-un's answer, her expression became strange. At first she thought this man was playing with her. But if she carefully considered what Mok Jae-un was saying, it was no different from saying that he found her attractive as the opposite sex, in other words as a woman. No, is he really attracted to me? Yeo Su-rin looked into Mok Jae-un's eyes. But she couldn't feel any particular emotion in Mok Jae-un's gaze. How could he say such things so nonchalantly with that expression and eyes? It was incomprehensible. Then it seems we've reached a conclusion. Let's part ways here. What? If you don't like both options, there's no reason for us to do anything together. Then will you please leave this place? At Mok Jae-un's firm words, Yeo Su-rin's expression became sulky. What kind of options were so extreme? She had intended to properly rebuke him and end things, feeling that she was being taken lightly as a woman. But when Mok Jae-un gave up so easily, she felt a strange sense of competitiveness instead. What does it mean to say he finds her attractive as the opposite sex and then give up so easily? Isn't it too quick to reach a conclusion? I'm busy with other things besides this. You said you find me attractive as the opposite sex. Shouldn't you be more proactive if that's the case? Is there a need for that? What? And the one who should feel regretful is you, not me. Eek. At Mok Jae-un's words, Yeo Su-rin's cheeks trembled. He was really toying with her. If she followed what Mok Jae-un wanted right here, she would be no different from selling her body just to receive help. So, then let's do this. I won't accept any other proposals. Can't you listen first and then decide? No such thing. Mok Jae-un flatly refused. So she stamped her feet and then calmed herself down and said, No, you're really too much. Let's at least make a vow to each other using the non-movement curse power weakening technique. Non-movement curse power weakening technique? You know it, right? I don't, but... You don't know this. What is it? The non-movement curse power weakening technique is a technique where you pledge an oath by using each other's curse power as collateral. Using curse power as collateral? Yes, you said you can't trust me. But I'm the same. How can I trust a man who tells me to offer my body for trust when we haven't even known each other for a day? So, it's literally what it means. The non-movement curse power weakening technique is a technique where you make an oath based on incantations and curse power. If you break each other's oath, you lose all your curse power. At her words, Mok Jae-un's eyes narrowed. There was no reason for him to take on such a risky constraint together with her. However, the technique isn't that difficult. You just need to use your own name and curse power as the incantation. At those words, Mok Jae-un, who was about to refuse, stopped. Hearing about it, the principle seemed similar to the chain of incantation. If that was the case. Not bad. The corners of Mok Jae-un's mouth twitched. If the principle was similar to the chain of incantation, he had nothing to lose. After all, it wasn't his true name. Yeo Su-rin, unaware of Mok Jae-un's inner thoughts, spoke with a slightly flushed face as if embarrassed without making eye contact. For now, let's prevent backstabbing each other for a certain period with the oath of the non-movement curse power weakening technique. And if we develop some trust in each other during that time, I'll consider that proposal. Is this good enough? The residence of Jang Nung-ak, the second disciple of the society leader. On the bed in the reception room of the residence, a woman with thick lips was sitting up, saying something. She was Seo Hyun, the leader of the Grass Smoke Group, one of the Five Mountains Alliance, the loyal subordinates of Jiang Nongake. Sitting next to her and listening to the report was Jiang Nongyi, her lord. Jiang Nongake's expression wasn't good as he listened to her report. Moreover, it wasn't just him. Ko Yunhu, the grand leader of the Hegemon Fist Group, the first mountain who was standing behind him, also had a frown on his face. The reason was simple. Are you sure you saw it correctly? Yes, young master. Do you think I would dare to report falsely to you? Ha! At her words, Jiang Nongake was dumbfounded. Then he asked Ko Yunhu behind him, what do you think? I don't know. You don't know. The first time I saw him was inside the Beck clan's estate. At that time he seemed to be at the level of early stage of Transcendent Realm at best. Early stage Transcendent Realm? Oh, absolutely not. Jiang Nongake shook his head. He had already witnessed Mok Jiangun's true abilities there. Although he hadn't reached the realm of the Poison Master, he had endured even the poison of the Poison King Beck Saha. Perhaps because of that, Beck Saha had taken a liking to him and accepted him as a disciple. But this was indeed surprising. That guy defeated Wu Horang? Ha! Who is Wu Horang? Wasn't he one of the 5 tigers, the best late-stage disciples that the Heaven and Earth Society was proud of? Even Ko Yunhu, his right-hand man, couldn't gauge the outcome of a battle against him, but he had defeated him with his skills? If this was true, it was truly astounding. Hee. But more than surprise, he felt joy. Even without this, when Xiao Haiyan had been brought unconscious by the Beck clan's warriors, he had thought something was wrong. But now they said Mok Jiangun had defeated Wu Horang. That meant he had fallen out with his junior sister, Wei Soyun. What a likable fellow. To prove his loyalty to this young master in this way. Ha ha ha. He couldn't help but laugh. Meanwhile, Xiao Haiyan spoke in a cautious voice. But young master, there's a slight problem. A problem? Yes. Ah, right. Who knocked you unconscious? He had already asked the Beck clan's warrior who had brought her here, but they said they couldn't tell him under the order of the Poison King Beck Saha, the head of the family. He had considered beating them up to find out, but he needed Beck Saha's support at this point, and he could just ask Xiao Haiyan when she woke up, so he had let them go. That's... Don't tell me you don't know who knocked you out? No, I have a guess. A guess? You're not saying you don't even know who knocked you unconscious, are you? I think it was probably the eldest young master. What? At her report, Jiang Nongake's expression, which had been as if he had the whole world in his hands until just now, instantly hardened. Senior brother? Yes. How could that be? Senior brother made a move. Jiang Nongake denied it with trembling eyes. He clearly remembered the last words his eldest brother had said to him. Try your best to struggle. If you can, that is. He didn't even consider him a competitor. He had thought it was just words, but during that time his eldest brother had almost neglected and didn't even interfere with him gathering his forces. But now he suddenly made a move. This was unbelievable. However, it was too bland, so I was thinking of giving 1 or 2 to the disciples, but it seems too much of a waste. What? Those were the last words I heard before being struck on acupoints. At Xiao Haiyan's words, Jiang Nongake gritted his teeth with a flushed face. If these words were true, it meant that bastard had caught the senior brother's attention, didn't it? Bang. Jiang Nongake hit the armrest of the chair and stood up. No way. Anyone else was fine, but not Mok Jiangun. Right now, that guy was in the most important position. Not only was he the joint disciple of the Poison King Beck Saha, who had recently reached the transformation realm, but also of the leader of the secret information group, the Shadow Clan. If he took in Mok Jiangun, he would secure a force comparable to his eldest brother's at once. But all of a sudden at this crucial moment he interfered? Grit. It seemed his eldest brother didn't treat him as a competitor after all. He had been watching all along. To crush him like this at a critical moment. Let's go. Excuse me. Young Lady Xiao, rest. The rest of you follow this young master. At his order, Ko Yunhu, the grand leader of the First Mountain Hegemon Fist Group, hurriedly said, My lord, you're not planning to meet the eldest young master, are you? I am. At those words, Ko Yunhu couldn't hide his concern. No matter how angry he was about this incident, the eldest young master Na Yulriang was a truly dangerous person. Although his lord Jiang Nongake also had a tendency to be somewhat swayed by emotions, Na Yulriang transcended that realm and didn't even feel like a person. If he met him with his emotions ahead. It's too dangerous. I need to dissuade my lord. Tap 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 tap. At that moment the sound of someone running was heard from outside. Then they knocked on the door. My lord. It's me, Geo Mo Pal. The one knocking on the door was none other than Geo Mo Pal of the Five Mountain, and leader of Geom Fist. Jang Nungi, who was about to go out anyway, roughly opened the door. Bam. What is it? Well, what? Mok Jangan has come to see you. Chapter 178, Jang Nungike, 2. What? Mok Jangan. Jang Nungike's expression turned strange. He was just about to go and protest to his eldest brother Na Yulriang for interfering and trying to take Mok Jangan away from him. But now Mok Jangan has come on his own? What was going on? Should I consider this fortunate? On the other hand, Ko Yunhu, the grand leader of the First Mountain Hegemon Fist Group, who had tried to dissuade his lord Jang Nungike, the second disciple of the society leader, inwardly let out a sigh of relief. It wasn't the time to clash with the eldest young master in terms of power or in any aspect. But while feeling relieved, Ko Yunhu also became puzzled. So, my lord, something seems strange. Strange, you say? Yes. Didn't young Lady Seo say that the eldest young master mentioned it would be a waste to give him away before striking her acupoints? At his words, Jang Nungike also nodded inwardly in agreement. If he hadn't heard those words, he would have gladly gone to welcome Mok Jangan right away. So Jang Nungi pondered for a moment and asked, what do you think happened? At that question, Geo Mo Pal of the Five Mountains Geom Fist, who had reported Mok Jangan's arrival, answered. Since he came here on his own, isn't it to pledge loyalty to you, my lord? Why are you reacting like this? At his words, Ko Yunhu said, it seems the eldest young master has made contact with Mok Jangan. What? The eldest young master? Yes. That's why I'm concerned. Concerned about what? Perhaps Mok Jangan has had a change of heart. At those words, Geo Mo Pal raised his voice with a fierce look in his eyes. No. After my lord has treated him so favorably, how could he have a change of heart? If he does such a thing, I, Geo Mo Pal, will break his legs. At those words, Jang Nungike shook his head and waved his hand. Stand down. It's too much for you. Pardon. Leader Ko or Leader Ho would have to step up to handle him. At Jang Nungike's words, Geo Mo Pal spoke with a frown and a disappointed tone. If it's because of my confrontation with him last time, I didn't use my full strength then. I also underestimated him, thinking he was a novice. This time I'll properly. Ko Yunhu, the First Mountain, cut off Geo Mo Pal's words. He defeated Wu Horang. What? Geo Mo Pal's eyes widened. What was this about? Was the Wu Horang he was referring to the same one he knew? Surely you don't mean Wu Horang, the grand leader of the giant watchtower group? Who else would I be talking about? Geo Mo Pal was momentarily dumbfounded. There were rumors that Mok Jangan's martial prowess was higher than expected, but weren't the Five Tigers considered the best among the late-stage disciples in terms of strength, excluding the executives of the Heaven and Earth Society? And one of the Five Tigers, Wu Horang, was defeated by Mok Jangan? That means we can consider Mok Jangan as a new member of the Five Tigers. Gasp. Geo Mo Pal clicked his tongue. As he closed his mouth, Seo Haiyan, the leader of Grass Smoke Group, who had been sitting up on the bed, cautiously spoke. Young master, why don't you meet him first? Meet him, you say? Yes. If Mok Jun had truly changed his mind and joined the eldest young master, would there be any reason for him to come all the way here again? At her words, Jang Nungike nodded his head. What she said made sense. So Jang Nungike asked Geo Mo Pal, did he come alone? Yes. He came alone. There doesn't seem to be anyone accompanying him. Alone. In that case he should meet him first and judge. If he had betrayed him and changed his allegiance to his eldest brother, it would be best for him to be prepared. Of course, if he came to pledge loyalty to him, he would receive appropriate treatment. Prepare the banquet table. Pardon. Depending on his answer, it will be determined whether it will be a punitive drink or a rewarding drink. Mok Jangan, following Geo Mo Pal, was walking through the estate. Mok Jangan's eyes flashed with interest. Compared to the side of Wai So-yun, the third disciple of the society leader, this side seemed more systematic. Wai Soyun's estate wasn't that large in scale and felt more like a place for acquaintances, while this place had a well-established hierarchy. The energies felt from various places and the number of masters were also considerable. Seeing this, one could guess how much effort the second disciple Jang Nung-ak had put in to become the society leader. As they walked for a while, Mok Jae-eun spoke up. I'm starting to become familiar with the layout of the estate, but how long are we going to keep walking in circles? What? You noticed. The estate may be large but not to the extent of walking for nearly a quarter hour, right? At Mok Jae-eun's words, Geo Mo-pal chuckled. Then he stopped walking and said, well, I didn't have any ill intentions, so there's no need for suspicion. Is that so? My lord just said he's preparing a banquet for you, so I was just giving you a brief tour of the estate. A banquet? That's right. You're making me feel burdened. It's just a casual gathering for drinks. Ah, is that so? The preparations should be almost done, so I'll guide you to the reception room. I would appreciate that. With that, they resumed walking. As they headed towards the reception room, Geo Mo-pal spoke without looking at Mok Jae-eun. Did you really defeat the Giant Watchtower Group leader? Giant Watchtower Group leader? I'm talking about Wu Horang, young lady Wai Soyun's loyal subordinate. Ah, you mean him? Yes. Did you really defeat him? You seem curious about that. Of course I'm curious since I only heard about it. Moreover, aren't I the only one among us who has properly fought against you? At that time, Geo Mo-pal didn't consider Mok Jae-eun to be above him. He thought he had simply let his guard down for a moment. But if he had truly defeated Wu Horang, one of the 5 tigers, the situation would be completely different. So you wanted to confirm it? At Mok Jae-eun's words, Geo Mo-pal stopped walking. Then he turned around and said, confirm? Of course I have a burning desire to confirm it. But if you really defeated Wu Horang, I'm definitely not a match for you. Then what's the reason behind this question? Mok Jae-eun asked with a bright smile. Contrary to his smile, the atmosphere was close to not refusing a fight if it came to it. At that, Geo Mo-pal's eyes flashed with interest. So it's true. Unlike the last confrontation, this was Lord Jang Nung-ak's base. In a place like this, one would usually feel intimidated to some extent, but the fact that he showed such confidence meant his skills backed it up. Realizing this, Geo Mo-pal said with a grin, revealing his yellowish teeth. I became curious. Curious, you say? Yes. Whether you will take the vacant position of the second mountain or the position of the first mountain from Ko Danju. Ko Danju? That person is Ko Yun-hoo, the grand leader of the Hegemon Fist Group. You must have heard of him. Of course he had heard of him. Mok Jae-eun had familiarized himself with the loyal subordinates of the second disciple Jang Nung-ak through the Shadow Clan. If Wu Horang was Wai Soyun's right-hand man, Ko Yun-hoo was Jang Nung-ak's right-hand man. And like Wu Horang, Ko Yun-hoo was also one of the 5 tigers. He's known to be unmatched in close combat among the 5 tigers. Bomo. Since you're from the Amjong, it would be strange if you didn't know even this. Anyway, I look forward to it. With those words, Geo Mo-pal turned around and walked away. Looking at his back, Mok Jae-eun chuckled. Eventually, they arrived at the garden of the reception room. Oh. The garden, illuminated by hexagonal lanterns on all sides, was bright, and a considerable feast was prepared, considering it was prepared within a quarter hour. Even the lovely maids who had been summoned at some point were ready to serve the drinks. The rumors about the second disciple Jang Nung-ak enjoying elegance seemed to be true. He must be in high spirits. Did he prepare this gathering with the conviction that he would pledge loyalty to him? But it wasn't just Jang Nung-ak and his loyal subordinates at this gathering. As if all the subordinates of Jang Nung-ak who had reached the transcendent realm or above had gathered, they filled the lower seats. There were about 20 of them. They were all sitting upright in front of the banquet table, waiting silently. Compared to Wai Soyun, he definitely had a more organized force and system. At that moment, the sound of Chong Ryong's laughter reached Mok Jae-eun's ears. Pahaha. Human, look over there. At the head of the banquet table was Go Chan, who was possessing Ha Chai Rin. Dressed lavishly, Go Chan was seated next to Ho Jong Hyuk, the grand leader of the Third Mountain Destruction Clan, as if he were his wife. As soon as his eyes met Mok Jae-eun's, he lowered his head, feeling embarrassed. It seems he has fully adapted. It appears so. Well, it seemed he was carrying out the orders given to him well. He had wondered if he would do well due to the awkwardness, but unexpectedly, perhaps a woman's body suited his constitution. Judging by the smile that never left the face of the third mountain Hojong Hyok as he placed his hand around Go Chan's waist, he must have taken a great liking to him. Meanwhile, Jang Nungi, who was sitting at the head of the table, laughed loudly and said, "Huh, you're here." In response, Mok Jae-eun lightly bowed to him with his hands clasped together. Mok Jae-eun greets the young master. It was a respectful greeting. However, at this greeting from Mok Jae-eun, the eyes of Ko Yun-hoo, the grand leader of the First Mountain Hegemon Fist Group, who was sitting at the head of the table, narrowed. This fellow. He didn't mention his affiliation. When greeting a superior, it was customary to mention one's affiliation even if they knew each other. But Mok Jae-eun didn't do that. For some reason it bothered Ko Yun-hoo. Come closer to the head of the table. Jang Nung-ak ordered Mok Jae-eun to come closer. So Mok Jae-eun passed the lower seats and approached closer. As they approached where they were sitting, Jang Nung-ak extended his hand, signaling him to stop. Mok Jae-eun stopped in his tracks. Then Jang Nung-ak spoke with a smile on his lips. "This banquet was prepared for you. Do you like it? It's lavish." "Yes. If there was more time, I would have prepared an even more extravagant feast." "Thank you." "No. There's no need to thank me yet." "Pardon. The start of the banquet will be determined by your answer." The smile on Jang Nung-ak's face, which had been present until just now, changed to a blank expression. In an instant, the cheerful atmosphere sank. It showed that everything could change depending on Jang Nung-ak's mood. So Mok Jae-eun parted his lips. "I answer." "That's right. You came here without even meeting young Lady Seo, whom this young master sent, which means you must have made a decision in your heart, right?" At Jang Nung-ak's words, Mok Jae-eun shrugged his shoulders and replied, "Well, you could say that." Thud. At that moment, Geo Mo-pal, who had just sat down at the head of the table, slammed his wine cup on the table and said, "Mok Jae-eun, does this gathering seem like a joke to you? Show respect to my lord and answer properly." At his words, Mok Jae-eun tilted his head and said, "I did answer properly." "What?" "Geo Mo-pal. Be quiet." As Geo Mo-pal's voice rose, Ko Yun-hoo, the first mountain, stopped him. Geo Mo-pal closed his mouth with a slightly flushed face. He could overlook Mok Jae-eun acting rudely towards him, but he couldn't forgive disrespect towards his lord. Meanwhile, Jang Nung-ak spoke again. "There's no point in prolonging this conversation. It will only tire our mouths. I'll just ask you directly. The rest can be heard later. Did you come here to pledge loyalty to this young master?" At Jang Nung-ak's straightforward question, everyone's gaze turned towards Mok Jae-eun at once. His answer would determine whether this would be a banquet or not. Jang Nung-ak still viewed it positively. After all, since Mok Jae-eun had fought against Wu Horang, Wai Soyun's right-hand man, he had already fallen out with them. The only variable was his eldest brother. Depending on this guy's answer, he could tell whether he had sided with his eldest brother or not. Meanwhile, Mok Jae-eun parted his lips. "Before that, there's something I'd like to say first." "What?" At Mok Jae-eun's words, Jang Nung-ak's eyes turned sharp. This guy didn't answer his question. Not only that, but he wanted to say what he had to say first. Feeling offended, Jang Nung-ak scoffed. "You've become arrogant." "Arrogant, you say? After defeating Wu Horang, one of the 5 tigers, and making contact with my eldest brother, has your nose grown high? That's completely separate." "Separate?" "Yes. Separate. Fine. I'll give you another chance. Answer this young master's question first." At Jang Nung-ak's question, Mok Jae-eun scratched his head as if in a difficult position. Then he said, "I apologize, but I think I need to speak first." Thud. As soon as those words left his mouth, murderous intent and energy surged from various directions. The loyal subordinates were enraged by Mok Jae-eun's rudeness. Of course, Jang Nung-ak, the person in question, also had an unpleasant expression. His eyes had turned cold. Everyone was gauging Jang Nung-ak's reaction. If he gave the order, they were in an atmosphere ready to subdue Mok Jae-eun at any moment. Swish. At that moment, Jang Nung-ak poured alcohol into a cup and shook his head. Then he downed the cup in one gulp and turned his head towards Ko Yun-hu, the grand leader of the First Mountain Hegemon Fist Group, and said, "This is perfect timing. Why don't we establish the hierarchy for the newcomer and determine who is suitable for the First Mountain position?" "I accept your order, my lord." At Jang Nung-a's words, Ko Yun-hu, the First Mountain, stood up from his seat. He understood what Jang Nung-a's intention was. As Ko Yun-hu, the First Mountain, got up from his seat and descended from the head of the hall, everyone's gaze turned towards him. He's sending Ko Danju. Does he really consider that guy to be at the level of the Five Tigers? Are we going to witness a confrontation at the level of the Five Tigers? Curiosity gleamed in everyone's eyes. Apart from being annoyed by Mok Jiongun's rudeness towards their lord, it was an opportunity to see the martial prowess of Ko Yun-hu, Jang Nung-a's oldest loyal subordinate and right-hand man after a long time. As Ko Yun-hu approached Mok Jiongun, he said, "You made a mistake. Why don't you apologize to my lord now and answer his question?" At his suggestion, Mok Jiongun spoke with a troubled tone, "Ah, that seems difficult." Roar. As soon as that answer ended, tremendous energy burst forth from Ko Yun-hu, the First Mountain. Ko Yun-hu, seemingly in a bad mood, glared at Mok Jiongun and said, "Since you've avoided answering the question about loyalty 3 times, can I assume you have other intentions?" In response to that question, Mok Jiongun replied with a bright smile, "You keep asking, so I have no choice but to answer. Yes, that's right." What? Grit. Was this guy now ridiculing their lord and them? For a moment they were dumbfounded. Then why had he come here in the first place? Could it be that after meeting with the eldest young master he received some secret orders and was trying to play tricks? If that was the case, it was unforgivable. Ko Yun-hu spoke in a murderous voice, "Draw your sword immediately." "My sword? It's the last mercy I'm giving you. If you don't draw your sword right now, you won't be able to do anything in this place." Kwang. Before he could even finish his words, Mok Jiongun had already grabbed Ko Yun-hu's head with one hand and smashed it straight into the floor. Ko Yun-hu's head and body, with his face buried in the floor, twitched and trembled. Mok Jiongun spoke to him with a sneer, "Show mercy to those inferior to you." At the unexpected result, the surroundings were instantly filled with silence. Chapter 179, Jang Nung-a 3. In an instant, the banquet area in the garden of the reception hall was filled with silence. It was because a scene unfolded before their eyes that was completely different from what they had expected, no, something they couldn't even have imagined. How could this be? One of the men on the lower seats was dumbfounded. He was Wei Mengqion, the Second Mountain, who was possessing a man named Zhang Im, who had become Mok Jiongun's subordinate. Wei Mengqion knew Ko Yun-hu's martial prowess better than anyone else. After all, he had directly sparred with him. But this was more than just a shock. He had fought against Mok Jiongun just a day ago, so he was convinced that with his skills he couldn't defeat Ko Yun-hu, one of the Five Tigers. What on earth is going on? It had only been a day, so how had his martial prowess risen so much? No, this was a development that couldn't be understood rationally. Ko Yun-hu wasn't someone who would be defeated like this in a single move. What the hell is this? He wasn't the only one surprised. The guard Go Chan, who was possessing Ha Chai-rin's body, also tried his best not to show it, but he couldn't hide his inner shock at this outcome. It was incomparable to what he had seen on the street not long ago. Is that guy really a monster? How could he have become this strong in such a short time? It was completely incomprehensible. Then he heard a clicking sound next to him. It was Ho Jong-hyuk, the grand leader of the Third Mountain Destruction Clan, who had his hand around his waist and was tilting a wine cup. Ho Jong-hyuk clicked his tongue while looking at this scene and muttered, "Oh my. An unexpected hidden card." He seemed surprised too, but strangely, there was a subtle sense of rivalry in his expression. What was this reaction? Cuff. At that moment, Ko Yun-hu, whose face had been buried in the floor, slammed his hands on the ground, trying to use the rebound to lift his body. Hover. Bam. Mok Jiongun pressed his head down again, burying his face in the floor. The trembling of Ko Yun-hu's body, which had been shaking its head, soon ceased. It seemed he had lost consciousness. At the sight of him, the banquet area, which had been engulfed in silence, soon became abuzz. Mok Jiongun removed his hand from Ko Yun-hu's head, straightened his waist, and looked at Jang Nung-a, the second disciple of the society leader. The way Jang Nung-ik looked at Mok Jae-young changed. Until now it had been merely like looking at a tempting fruit, but now wariness appeared in his eyes. This guy. His martial prowess has further developed. Ko Yunhu's martial prowess was not inferior to Wu Horang, who was also called one of the 5 tigers. No, in some ways Jang Nung-ik considered him to be a step above. But he had knocked him down in a single move? Jang Nung-ik opened his mouth. You're close to the pinnacle. Murmur. Pinnacle. Did he just say pinnacle? At his words, the martial artists on the lower seats were abuzz. The pinnacle of the transcendent realm. It was the martial prowess of the executive level, surpassing the 5 tigers, who were called the best late-stage disciples. Among the executives who held the positions of the 4 valley masters, 3 clan masters and 5 kings, there was no one who wasn't close to or had reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm. Each of them was equivalent to the leader of a small to medium-sized sect or the top master of a major sect in the righteous martial world. So Geo Mopal spoke in disbelief. Pinnacle, you say? My lord, no matter what. Geo Mopal. Brother Ho. Haven't you noticed yet? Noticed what? That guy has no injuries at all. Injuries. At those words, Geo Mopal's eyes trembled. He hadn't been aware of it, but there were no visible injuries on Mok Jae-young. He had heard that it was a quite fierce confrontation with Seo Hyein, the grass smoke group leader, but there wasn't the slightest injury on Mok Jae-young's exposed areas. He was more of a monster than he looked. Not a single injury against that Wu Horang. At Geo Mopal's words, Seo Hyein spoke in a grave voice. What are you saying when Ko Danju was knocked down in a single move right before your eyes? Swish. Before they knew it, the martial artists on the lower seats as well as Seo Hyein of the 5 Mountains Alliance and Geo Mopal of the 5 Mountains and Geo M Fist, had drawn their true energy and assumed a battle stance. From the moment he knocked down Ko Yunhu in a single move, that guy had surpassed the level of a late-stage disciple. He already possessed martial prowess close to that of an executive. The only ones who could face him one-on-one here were their lord Jang Nung-ik, who had been taught by the society leader, and the gazes of Seo Hyein and Geo Mopal on the upper seats turned towards an unexpected person. It was none other than Ho Jong Hyok, the grand leader of the 3rd Mountain Destruction Clan. Why were they looking at him like this? Ko Yunhu, known as one of the 5 tigers and the strongest among the loyal subordinates as the 1st Mountain, was defeated in a single move, so why were they sending such gazes? At that moment, what's with those looks? Ho Jong Hyok spoke in an annoyed tone and downed his wine cup. Meanwhile, Jang Nung-ik opened his mouth. Ho Jong Hyok. Yes, my lord. I didn't expect to reveal the hidden card in a place like this. At Jang Nung-ik's words, the gaze of Ho Jong Hyok, who had been acting indifferent, changed. It became heavier and sharper, so to speak. Jang Nung-ik said to him, Can you handle him? I can manage somehow, but I can't guarantee victory. Considering his movements just now. Then I'll have Geo Mopal assist you. Subdue him and make him kneel. You're really putting me in a difficult position. Are you sure about this? It's this young master's estate anyway. It doesn't matter if they see. Understood. I accept your order. With those words, Ho Jong Hyok smiled at Go Chan, who was possessing Ha Chai Rin next to him, and said, Wait here for a moment. I'll be back soon. Qua. At his words, Go Chan inwardly screamed. Even though he urged himself in his mind to fulfill his role, the words this guy carelessly threw out went beyond being a burden. As Ho Jong Hyok was about to grasp the handle of the huge axe placed behind him, Why don't we stop this unnecessary fight? Mok Jae-young spoke to Jang Nung-ik. Then Jang Nung-ik scoffed. You refused the offer of loyalty, said you came to play tricks with your own mouth, and now you're telling us not to engage in an unnecessary fight. Do you take this young master as a joke? How could that be? I simply came to make a necessary proposal to you, young master. Shut up. Before he could even finish, Jang Nung-ik's rebuke spread in all directions. Perhaps because it was infused with internal energy, the martial artists on the lower seats covered their ears in unison at the echoing shout. Of course, Mok Jae-young's expression didn't change at all. Jang Nung-ik pressed Mok Jae-young. I don't know what tricks you're trying to pull after joining hands with my eldest brother, but from the moment you let go of this young master's hand, you're an enemy. Aren't you defining it too easily? Defining? Don't make me laugh. Did you think this young master wouldn't know that you made contact with my eldest brother? Yes, I did make contact. Right. Then you can't deny it any. Thanks to that, I've become troubled because I've made young Master Na Yulriang my enemy. What? At Mok Jiongun's words, Jang Nung-ake's expression momentarily stiffened. He had naturally assumed that Mok Jiongun had joined hands with his eldest brother Na Yulriang since he had defeated Wu Horang, a subordinate of his junior sister Y Soyun, and even knocked down his right-hand man, the first mountain Ko Yunhu, in a single move. But what was this about? You've made my eldest brother your enemy? Yes. Jang Nungi with narrowed eyes frowned and said, Are you trying to deceive this young master by telling lies now? How could that be? Young Master Na Yulriang is probably anxious because he couldn't kill me. He's anxious because he couldn't kill you? Yes. At Mok Jiongun's words, Jang Nung-ake snorted. This guy was playing tricks on him. What kind of person was his eldest brother? He was a cold-blooded person who didn't even consider most of the people around him as human beings. Even his own disciples, including himself, were not acknowledged by him. Such an inhuman eldest brother considered a mere guy like him as an enemy? Foolish fellow. You don't know Na Yulriang. Are you telling this young master to believe such nonsense that he would consider you as an enemy? It would be more realistic if you said he considers you a worm. Swish. With those words, Jang Nung-ake nodded his head towards the third mountain Hojong Hyok. Phew. Then Hojong Hyok let out a soft breath, grasped the huge axe and descended from the hull. Seeing the axe, Mok Jiongun recalled who he was from the conversation with the Shadow Clan. Oh ho ho. There's one particularly troublesome person among Jang Nung-ake's loyal subordinates. Who is it? The grand leader of the Destruction Clan, Hojong Hyok. Hojong Hyok. Yes. I heard he holds the position of the third mountain in the Five Mountains Alliance. The third mountain means he's the third in rank. That's the displayed rank. Displayed rank. Of course, his actual martial prowess may not match that of Ko Yunhu, the first mountain, or Y Mingqion, the second mountain. But considering his father's prestige, his position is incomprehensible. Who is his father to make you say that? The Axe King Ho Taegang. The Axe King? Is he one of the five kings? The five kings. They were the top executives supporting the Heaven and Earth Society. But that wasn't the end of it. He's not just one of the five kings. He is one of the 8 masters known to have reached the highest realm in the current martial world. Could it be? Yes, he's one of the 8 stars. The huge axe that looked like it could split a person in half was probably the Annihilation Axe, known to have been crafted for the Axe King Ho Taegang to unleash his unique martial art, the Heavenly Axe Technique. The son who received the teachings of one of the 8 stars. A small interest arose in Mok Jiongun's eyes. The 8 stars were called the highest masters in the current martial world, excluding the 6 heavens. It would be stranger if he had no interest at all. Rumble rumble. The muscles on the right arm of the third mountain Hojong Hyok, who was dragging the axe on the floor as he walked, were extremely bulky. They must have developed to handle that huge annihilation axe with ease. Anticipation gleamed in the eyes of Geo Mopal of the Five Mountains and Geo Fist, who was following behind to assist him. Will I get to see Brother Ho's true skills? There was a secret in the Oak Ho. It was a secret known only to the members of the Five Mountains Alliance and their Lord Jang Nungi. Even the martial artists on the lower seats didn't know about it. It was the existence of the true First Mountain. The true First Mountain. The hidden blade of our Lord. Anyone would think that Ko Yunhu, one of the 5 tigers who were called the best late-stage disciples, was the strongest in the Oak Ho, but the reality was different. The true strongest expert of the alliance was none other than Hojong Hyok. His true martial prowess had reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm. Whoosh. Hojong Hyok lifted the huge axe, the Annihilation Axe, which he had been dragging on the floor, and lightly swung it in the air. It was just a light swing, but a strong wind pressure arose, and a sharp aura spread in all directions. As expected, he's incredible. If this much could be done with just the wind pressure, it seemed like something truly amazing would happen if he fully unleashed his martial prowess. Hojong Hyok approached Mok Jiongun and said, Hey, don't resent us too much for ganging up on you. It's not a duel but an order to subdue you. At his words, Mok Jiongun shrugged his shoulders as if he didn't care. Then he took something out from his waist, It was a small pouch attached to his belt. What are you trying to do? Ho Jong Hyok asked. In response, Mok Jae-un didn't answer and said while looking at Jang Nung-ik in the hall. If you see this, your thoughts might change a bit. With those words, Mok Jae-un threw the pouch to Jang Nung-ik in the hall. Where are you? Seo Hyein of the Five Mountains Alliance caught it instead, thinking he might try to pull some tricks. But the pouch was lighter than expected. She thought it might contain a hidden weapon or something, but it didn't seem to be the case. Young master, this is. Don't mind useless things. Hurry up and subdue him. Jang Nung-ik gave the order to Ho Jong Hyok and Geo Mopal as if he had no interest in it at all. As soon as he did, Ho Jong Hyok moved his body towards Mok Jae-un and swung the huge axe, the Annihilation Axe, towards his neck. Whoosh. Swish. Crack. As the Annihilation Axe sliced through the air, the banquet tables were split by the wind pressure and aura. Thanks to that, the martial artists on the lower seats who were watching had to step back as the tables were split. Jang Nung-i looked at this and raised the corners of his mouth bitterly. With Ho Jong Hyok, who had reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm, and Geo Mopal assisting him, there wouldn't be much difficulty in subduing that guy. How dare you ridicule this young master? Let's see if he can still say such things even after peeling off his skin. At that moment, young master. Seo Hyein of the Five Mountains Alliance called out to Jang Nung-i. Jang Nung-ik, who was focused on their confrontation, replied in an annoyed tone, "Tell me later. I apologize, but I think you need to see this before that. Didn't I tell you to talk later? Young master." Right now, this young master's words are being ignored. The expression of Jang Nung-ik, who was about to press Seo Hyein, suddenly stiffened. It was because of something held in her hand. It was none other than an eyeball. The moment he saw the eyeball with a silver color instead of a black pupil, someone's image quickly flashed through Jang Nung-ik's mind. It was the image of his eldest brother, Na Yelriang. As expected of the Thunderbolt Fist King. To think you would make this young master use even this. Na Yelriang's voice and appearance were still vivid. During the sparring with the Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak, suddenly the pupil of his right eye had turned silver. After that, the dynamics of the match had clearly changed. In an instant, Jang Nung-ik's eyes trembled as he recalled this. This eyeball was too familiar. Could it be those? At that very moment, Kwang, Plang. At the sound of continuous crashing noises, Jang Nung-ik's gaze shifted to the side. There he saw Geo Mopal of the Five Mountains lying face down on the floor with Mok Jae-un's foot stepping on his head, and Ho Jong Hyok with one side of his axe blade broken, staggering and being pushed back. All of this had happened in the brief moment he had taken his eyes off them. Chapter 180, Jang Nung-i 4. It all happened in an instant. Mok Jae-un, who had been right in front of him, disappeared from his sight. The true First Mountain Ho Jong Hyok, the grand leader of the Destruction Clan, moved his head and searched for Mok Jae-un's whereabouts. Pover. Bam. Kook. Before he knew it, Mok Jae-un was stepping on Geo Mopal of the Five Mountains' Joam Fist. He couldn't even use his hands properly before being defeated. Just by seeing this, one could tell that there was an overwhelming gap between Mok Jae-un and his martial prowess. But he couldn't just stand by and watch. Whoosh. Ho Jong Hyok raised his unique weapon, the Annihilation Axe, with true energy and swung it towards Mok Jae-un. It would be nice if he could cut him, but that wasn't likely. He just wanted to make him back away from Geo Mopal. Pover. Clang. Ho Jong Hyok's eyes wavered. He caught the blade infused with true energy? A perplexing situation unfolded. Mok Jae-un had caught the blade of the Annihilation Axe flying towards him with one hand. True energy could be said to be true energy and aura converging into one and gathering densely. Catching this with bare hands was nearly impossible for any martial artist. If one wanted to counter this, they would have to raise their own true energy. Hand. Ho Jong Hyok's eyes widened. That was because he discovered the black energy enveloping Mok Jae-un's hand. The energy wrapped around his hand was protecting him from being cut by the true energy infused in the Annihilation Axe. What the hell is that energy? It was more dense and stronger than aura. And it even felt strangely sinister. But that wasn't the problem. If it was an energy that could block true energy with bare hands, it had to be true energy. However, even if one reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm, it was nearly impossible to raise true energy with bare hands. Sizzle. At that moment, a strange sensation flowed from Mok Jae-un's hand. It was poison energy. This is... As the poison energy and black energy entangled with his true energy. Crack. No way. His fingers dug into the axe blade of the Annihilation Axe and it cracked. Surprised by this, Ho Jong-hyuk hurriedly used his footwork and tried to kick Mok Jae-un's head. Hover. Swish. Mok Jae-un lightly avoided it by tilting his head back and then... Bam. Instead he landed a punch on Ho Jong-hyuk's chest. Ho Jong-hyuk's body was sent flying back from the impact of the punch. Swoosh. Clang. But in the process, one side of the Annihilation Axe's blade broke. Ho Jong-hyuk's expression contorted. The Annihilation Axe, a unique weapon he had received from his father, was an axe forged from a single piece of iron by a renowned craftsman of the time. Seeing one side of the blade of the Annihilation Axe, which he cherished like a treasure, shatter before his eyes, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. Grit. This guy. But contrary to this anger, his reason became even more cold. This man in front of him. He was definitely not at the pinnacle of the transcendent realm. To possess martial prowess that overwhelmed him to this extent, one had to surpass the wall. But this didn't make sense rationally. Not long ago he was barely at the level to receive a strike from Gyo-mo Pal of the Gyo-m Fist and blind swordsman Y Mengcheon. This isn't just fast development. The speed at which he was getting stronger was beyond imagination, almost to the point where it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him a monster. It wasn't a matter of whether he had surpassed the wall or not. This guy didn't seem to be someone who could be controlled by anyone. What? You're saying we should exclude him? Yes. Our Lord has already taken a liking to him, so why are you trying to exclude him? Because he's dangerous. Dangerous? What's dangerous? If it's because of his background. That's not the problem. Even if it's not visible, I can tell. Mok Jae-un is never someone who can be loyal to anyone. The words of that dead guy suddenly came to mind. That blind fellow's judgment was right. As Y Mengcheon said, this guy could never be controlled by their lord. Not only was his speed of growth alarming, but his intentions were also unknown, so keeping him close could lead to unpredictable incidents. Grip. This is troublesome. But right now this was an even bigger problem. He wanted to subdue the guy according to his lord's order, but it was impossible alone. If his guess was correct, no one present at this gathering could defeat this guy alone with martial arts. The only possibility was for their lord Jang Nung-ak to join forces and launch a combined attack. There's too much to lose. But then the loss would be too great. If they ended up losing even after launching a combined attack against someone they had intended to take in as a subordinate, the aftermath would be... Stop. At that moment Jang Nung-ak's shout was heard. At his shout, the third mountain Ho Jong-hyuk turned his head with a puzzled expression. There Jang Nung-ak was holding an eyeball with a stiff expression. Eyeball? What the hell was that? As the true first mountain Ho Jong-hyuk was puzzled, Mok Jae-un spoke to Jang Nung-ak with a bright smile. It seems you're now willing to have a conversation. You this. Jang Nung-ak was about to say something, but then he roughly shouted at the martial artists on the lower seats. You guys stand back for now. But my lord. I told you to stand back. Yes, sir. At his order, the martial artists on the lower seats moved out of the garden in unison. Go Chan, who was possessing Ha Chai Rin, also hesitated and tried to leave, but Seo Hyein of the Five Mountains Alliance allowed him to stay with a nod. After they had all left and only the Okho remained, Jang Nung-ak spoke again. This. What is it? At that question Mok Jae-un tilted his head and said, You're not asking because you really don't know, right? Are you trying to humiliate this young master now? How could that be? I thought you would recognize it if you saw it since you're the young master, but you're asking what it is, so... You. Are you really asking because you don't know? At Jang Nung-ak's even more stiffened expression, Ho Jong-hyuk looked at the eyeball in his hand with uncomprehending eyes. What the hell was that thing that made his lord react like this? But then unbelievable words came out of Jang Nung-ak's mouth. Did you fight my eldest brother? Eldest brother? What was this about? Was he asking if Mok Jae-un had fought against the eldest young master Na Yeol-ryang? As he was puzzled, Mok Jae-un nodded his head and replied, I thought that would be a sufficient answer. Mok Jae-un's gaze was directed at the eyeball held in Jang Nung-ak's hand. At his attitude, Jiang Nunge stared intently at the eyeball in his hand with a stiff expression, and then he let out a hollow laugh as if he couldn't believe it. Ha! At his reaction, all of his loyal subordinates couldn't hide their surprise. They had also realized whose eyeball it was thanks to Jiang Nunge's reaction. If that was the case, what the hell is this? That guy defeated the eldest young master? That monster. The eldest young master Na Yelriang. Not many within the Heaven and Earth Society could handle him. He was a monster, a disciple of the society leader who was one of the 6 heavens and had surpassed the wall to reach the transformation realm. It was said that even the 5 kings, the highest executives of the Heaven and Earth Society, had a hard time dealing with him unless they were the 2 kings who had received the title of 8 stars. And that guy had fought him? No, if he had even plucked out his eyeball, wasn't it the same as winning? What on earth was going on? At that very moment, ha ha. The society leader's second disciple, Jiang Nunge, who had been letting out a hollow laugh, burst into a mad laughter. Everyone looked at him in puzzlement at his sudden behavior. Was it because the shock was too great? As they wondered why he was acting like that, Jiang Nunge, who had been laughing for a while, plopped down on his seat and gestured with his hand, saying, "To think you plucked out the eyeball of that inhuman bastard. I've lived to see such a day. Ah, come here and let's talk." "Pai Lord." Xiao Haiyan, the leader of the 5 Mountains Alliance, tried to dissuade him. Then Jiang Nunge waved his hand and said, "Enough. He's the one who plucked out the eyeball of that monstrous bastard. Who could stop him? But my lord, it's too dangerous." "Enough. If he had any intention of harming me, he would have done it already. Isn't that right?" At his words, Mok Jiangun replied with a bright smile, "That's correct." At his answer, Xiao Haiyan and Jiao Mo Pao of the 5 Mountains, whose face was swollen, couldn't hide their concern. No matter how strong that guy was, they were loyal subordinates. They had a duty to ensure his safety. But Ho Zhonghyok shook his head as if telling them not to. "It's no use. Leave it." If he was truly a master of the transformation realm, this distance was already within his range. He could easily make a move if he wanted to. It's better to narrow the gap. That would be a better way to protect their lord Jiang Nunge from him. Sometimes the best defense was offense. Tap tap tap. In the end, Mok Jiangun came up to the hall and sat across from Jiang Nunge. The treatment had clearly changed. Sitting next to him signified trust, but having him sit directly in front meant acknowledging him as an equal. As Mok Jiangun sat down, Jiang Nunge picked up a wine bottle and said, "Will you have a drink? There's no reason to refuse a drink you offer." "Good. Have a drink." Jiang Nunge poured wine into Mok Jiangun's cup. Since they were sitting across from each other, there was a distance, but swish. As Jiang Nunge applied his internal energy, the wine inside the bottle stretched out and entered the distant cup. When the cup was full, the stream of wine connecting them was cut off. As expected, the young master's true energy is no ordinary matter. Even if he had the lowest true energy among the society leader's 3 disciples, it was still vast enough to be incomparable to ordinary internal energy masters. It was only natural since he had received the 100 bees and mice technique and regularly consumed spiritual medicines since childhood. Jiang Nunge put down the wine bottle. Then he looked at Mok Jiangun and said, "Will you pour for me?" The wine bottle was at a distance. He had to stand up and get the wine bottle to pour him a drink. At a glance, it might seem like he was trying to make Mok Jiangun stand up. Could it be that he's trying to tame the guy? Xiao Haiyan of the 5 Mountains Alliance watched this anxiously. "However, it's not difficult." Mok Jiangun chuckled and then lightly gestured towards the wine bottle. Then a stream of wine naturally extended from the spout of the wine bottle and entered Jiang Nunge's cup. Swish. Seeing this, Jiang Nunge's loyal subordinates unknowingly let out exclamations of surprise. This was the technique of void seizing. If one reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm, they could use true energy to pull or push objects to some extent. But to manipulate something like water droplets so delicately with true energy, one had to reach an even higher realm. Is it confirmed now? At Mok Jiangun's words, Jiang Nunge looked at the cup filled with wine and then raised his head. "Indeed, you have surpassed the wall." Ah. Xiao Haiyan of the 5 Mountains Alliance finally understood Jiang Nunge's intention. Their lord had wanted to confirm one last time if Mok Jiangun had truly surpassed the wall and reached the transformation realm. It was now certain. That guy was undoubtedly a master of the transformation realm. He was no longer at the level of a pinnacle stage supreme master but already a true grandmaster who could be counted on one hand even within the Heaven and Earth Society. Apart from being a disciple of the Shadow Clan and the Poison King, he had reached a position where he alone could be considered a force to be reckoned with. Their lord's reason for having Mok Jeongun sit right in front of him was understandable. At that moment Jang Nungi spoke. The strong deserve to be treated accordingly. Swish. Jang Nungi clasped his hands together and bowed to Mok Jeongun, saying, Jang Nungi, the second disciple of the society leader, will respectfully treat Master Mok with courtesy. Ah. At his behavior, the loyal subordinates of the Five Mountains Alliance inwardly clicked their tongues. It was also the first time they had seen their lord Jang Nungi treat a late-stage disciple of a younger age so politely, apart from the executives. But he certainly had the qualifications for it. After all, he was a master who had reached the transformation realm. Swish. Mok Jeon also bowed to him with clasped hands and replied, There's no need to go out of your way, but I'm grateful for your courteous treatment. The atmosphere wasn't bad as they exchanged courtesies. Jang Nungi seemed to think the same as he spoke in a brighter voice. Master Mok, may I ask the reason for coming to me with this? Swish. What Jang Nungi pointed to was none other than the eyeball of the eldest young master Na Yul Riang. Jang Nungi's mood was elevated as he looked at the eyeball. At first he had thought that Mok Jeongun had joined hands with his eldest brother Na Yul Riang to deceive him. But that was his misjudgment. Mok Jeongun had defeated Wu Horang, the right-hand man of his junior sister Wai Soyun, and not only that, he had even fought against his eldest brother Na Yul Riang and plucked out his eyeball. What did that imply? He wishes to be with this young master. He was convinced. Mok Jeongun had chosen him. However, contrary to his expectations, unexpected words came out of Mok Jeongun's mouth. Join forces with young lady Wai Soyun's side. Jang Nungi's expression instantly stiffened. This guy had made him anticipate so much, and now what was he talking about? So Jang Nungi spoke, managing his expression as much as possible. Master Mok, what are you saying? Joining forces with my junior sister, that's... I mean it literally. If you two don't combine your forces, it will be difficult to compete against eldest young master Na Yul Riang's side. At Mok Jeongun's words, Jang Nungi was momentarily dumbfounded, and then a hollow laugh escaped his lips. It was disappointing since it wasn't what he had expected, but was he saying this thinking it was possible? So Jang Nungi spoke his true thoughts. Look here, Master Mok. Do you think that's possible? Possible? That's right. Both my junior sister and I are running for the same position. And now you're telling us to combine our forces. Do you think that's possible? Jang Nungi shook his head. Then he chuckled and said, Well, if my junior sister were to pledge loyalty to me and join my subordination, it might be possible. If not, your proposal is essentially impossible, Master Mok. I see. It was a foolish proposal. This was a proposal that neither he nor his junior sister could accept. If that was the case, they would have already joined forces long ago or pushed one of them in that direction. It was because that didn't work that they were each putting in so much effort to secure support. Anyhow, thank you for the proposal, but... did it sound like a proposal to you? What? Jang Nungi frowned for a moment. Did he mishear? But then, flinch. The guy smiled, filled with malice unlike before, and said, This isn't a proposal but an order to do so.